Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jai Gopijana Vallabha Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jai Nijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jai Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jai Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jai Gauranitai, Jai Gauranitai, Jai Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladeva, Jai Subhadramai, Jai Radha Vallabha, Radha Vallabha, Shri Radhe, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Guru Srila Prabhupada ki. Jai Vishnupada Paramsa Parivajikacharya Ashtottara Shata Sri His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Jai Vishnupada Paramsa Parivajikacharya Ashtottara Shata Sri His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki. Grandhara Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki. Nitai Gaura Premanande. All glories to Assembled Devotees. All glories to Assembled. All glories to Assembled. All glories to Shri Guru Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I seek blessings of His Grace Prana Prabhu to speak Śrīmad Bhāgavatam for my own purification. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritya Narancheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayama Udhiraye. We are reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 7, text number 29. Tatropaya sahasranam Tatropaya sahasranam Ayam bhagavato ditaha Ayam bhagavato ditaha Yad Ishvare bhagavati Yad Ishvare bhagavati Yataye anjasarati Yataye anjasarati Tatropaya sahasranam Ayam bhagavato ditaha Yad Ishvare bhagavati Yataye anjasarati Tatropaya sahasranam Ayam bhagavato ditaha Yad Ishvare bhagavati Yataye anjasarati Yat Ishvare Bhagavati Yataye Anjasaratihi Tatropaya Sahasranam Ayam Bhagavato Ditaha Yadishvare Bhagavati Yataye Anjasaratihi Tatropaya Sahasranam Ayam Bhagavato Ditaha Yadishvare Bhagavati Yataye Anjasaratihi Tatropaya Sahasranam Ayam Bhagavato Ditaha Yadishvare Bhagavati Yataye Anjasaratihi Tatropaya Sahasranam Ayam Bhagavato Ditaha Yadishvare Bhagavati Yataye Anjasaratihi Vaishnavis Tatropaya Sahasranam Ayam Bhagavato Ditaha Yadishvare Bhagavati Yataye Anjasaratihi Tatropaya Sahasranam Toditaha Yadishvare Bhagavati Yataye Anjasaratihi Sranam Ayam Bhagavato Ditaha Yadishvare Bhagavati Yataye Anjasaratihi Tatra. In that connection, getting out of the entanglement of material conditioning, upaya of processes, sahasranam of many thousands, I am this Bhagavata Udita, given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, yet which Ishvare to the Lord, Bhagavati, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Yatha, as much as, Yai, by which, Anjasa, quickly, Ratihi, attachment with love and affection. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki. Of the different processes recommended for disentanglement from material life, the one personally explained and accepted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead should be considered all perfect. That process is the performance of duties by which love for the Supreme Lord develops. Purport. Among the linking processes that elevate one from bondage to material contamination, the one recommended by the Supreme Personality of Godhead should be accepted as the best. That process is clearly explained in Bhagavad Gita, where the Lord says, Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. This process is the best, because the Lord assures, Aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksheshyami ma shuchaha. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. There is no need to be worried, For the Lord himself assures that he will care for his devotee and save him from the reactions of sinful activities. Material bondage is a result of sinful activity. Therefore, since the Lord assures that he will dissipate the results of fruitive material activities, there is no need to be worried. This process of understanding one's position as a spirit soul and then engaging oneself in devotional service is therefore the best. The entire Vedic program is based on this principle, and one can understand it as recommended in the Vedas. Yasya deve para bhakti yata deve tata guru tasyaite katita hyartha prakashante mahatmanaha. Unto those great souls who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the spiritual master, all the imports of Vedic knowledge are automatically revealed. Shvetasvatara Upanishad 6.23. One must accept the pure devotee, the representative of God, as one's guru and then offer him all the respects one would offer the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the secret of success. For one who adopts this method, the perfect process is revealed. In this verse, the words Yer Anjasa Ratihi indicate that by offering service and surrendering to the spiritual master, one is elevated to devotional service. And by performing devotional service, one gradually becomes attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because of this attachment to the Lord, one can understand the Lord. In other words, one can understand what the Lord's position is, what our position is, and what our relationship is. All this can be understood very easily by the simple method of Bhakti Yoga. As soon as one is situated on the platform of Bhakti Yoga, the root cause of one's suffering and material bondage is destroyed. This is clearly explained in the next verse, which gives the secret of success. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kathamahiyam Tadadi Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sachivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. In the previous verse number 28, when we reading Srila Prabhupada purports or in any verses from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, so one important word always to look for is therefore. So that's where Prabhupada is concluding, or that's where whenever we see therefore, that means that's the instruction that we have to adopt. So in the previous word, after instructing his schoolmates, Prahlad Maharaj, so concluding, so what they should do next. So there he says, therefore, my dear friends, O sons of the demons, your duty is to take to Krishna consciousness. which can burn the seed of fruitive activities artificially created by the modes of material nature and stop the flow of the intelligence in wakefulness, dreaming and deep sleep. In other words, when one takes to Krishna consciousness, his ignorance is immediately dissipated. So now in today's verse, he further continues. So, okay, we have to take to Krishna consciousness. And there are different processes mentioned in the Vedic literature. So again here, Prahlad Maharaj is making sure that not all the processes, the one which is recommended by the Supreme Lord himself, and which is the authorized process. That is, of the different processes recommended for disentanglement from material life, the one personally explained, the Lord himself personally explained. So where he explained personally? He explained in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, in the 11th canto we see, and he as well as explained in the Bhagavad Gita, that to Arjuna. Explained and accepted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead should be considered all perfect. That process is the performance of duties by which love for the Supreme Lord develops. So, the process should develop the love for the Lord. So that is very important. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada very nicely explained the process. The beginning with, he says, the process is very simple. Surrender unto the Lord. So he says, Sarvadharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Varja. But is it very difficult to surrender unto the Lord? In this same room, when Prabhupada was here, I don't know the exact year, but it was Śrīmad Bhāgavatam class. One devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, we have, been in this material world from very long time, and we have committed so many sinful activities, and how long it takes to become purified? And Prabhupada was from this Vyasasana, he was roaring. He says, 1 minute. 1 minute. Are you not reading Bhagavad Gita? No, I'll share later that video. It was such a roaring voice. Prabhupada was, are you not reading Bhagavad Gita? What Krishna says? Ahantan sarvapapadyo moksheshami masucha. Krishna is telling, just surrender unto me, I will remove all the sinful activities. But to surrender, how long it takes actually? Now Katvanga Muni in the previous verses give an example. Maharaj, he surrendered within a moment. So he asked, how long I have? I said, only a few moments. And he came back and sat for meditation and gone back to Godhead. And for us also, it may not take very long time, but the problem is what holds us back is very, very, obstacles in our progress to that surrendering. And Prabhupada very nicely said, there is no need to be worried, for the Lord himself assures that he will care for his devotee and save him from the reactions of sinful activities. Now we have so many other processes in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 11th canto, 17th chapter. Uddhava asked question to the Lord. So he asked, Oh Lord, you mentioned so many in the Vedic literature, there are different activities are there and they entangle the living entity. So you please recommend which one is the best for your devotees to follow, for the people in general to follow. So there Lord says, in the Vedic literature there are so many instructions. Out of all the instructions, the 3 processes are very, very important. So the 3 processes is, he says, karma yoga, jnana yoga and bhakti yoga. Among all these 3, the process of bhakti yoga, the Lord says, is very, very important. And it is loving devotional service, that pleases the Lord. And I will read one translation from that chapter. Is text number 32 and 33 of 17th chapter of Canto 11. There he says, because there are so many different processes are there. Lord is telling everything that can be achieved by fruitive activities, penances, knowledge, detachment, mystic yoga, charity, religious duties, and all other means of perfecting life is easily achieved by my devotee through loving service unto me. If somehow or other my devotee desires promotion to heaven, liberation, or residence in my abode, he easily achieves such benedictions. So Lord himself is telling directly. Do you remember any of this sort of verse from Bhagavad Gita? Where explaining different processes, different ways to attain his abode. And Lord finally recommends. In the 8th chapter, last verse, Vedeshu Yajneshu Tapassu Chaiva. So similar verse we see, all the different ways of attaining him, Veda, Yajna, Tapas. But a yogi who is perfectly taken shelter of me is very easily, he will come to me. And here we see in the next part of the paragraph, purport, Srila Prabhupada is telling, this process of understanding one's position as a spirit soul and then engaging oneself in devotional service is therefore the best. Therefore, the best process is understanding who we are. I am a spirit soul, part and parcel of the Lord. So I am neither the material body, nor the consciousness, nor the mind, not the intelligence. I am a spirit soul. And engaging oneself in devotional service is the best process. And again, what is the definition of bhakti, devotional service? So Narada Muni gives very nice explanation, definition. In Krishna consciousness, whatever we speak, whatever word we speak, so that every word, every sentence has a definition. Every activity has a definition. A clear-cut understanding is required when we performing devotional activity. So Narada Muni tells the definition of a bhakti. He says, Sarvopadi vinirmukta. Sarva upadi. Sarva means all. Upadi means occupation. Sarva upadi. All occupations. All designations. Sarvopadi vinirmukta. So what are the designations we have? So I am a male, I am a female, I am a small boy, I am a big boy. I am white, I am red, I am Indian, I am this, I am that, I am intelligence, I am fool, I am expert. So all these are different designations. Just forget all the designations. Sarvopadi vinirmukta. Tat paratvena nirmalam. With the purified consciousness, nirmalam. The purified consciousness. So then what we have to do? Hrushikena. Hrushika means, Hrushika, our senses. Hrushikena, Hrushikesha. The Ishvara. Hrushika Isha. So the controller and master of the senses, Hrushikesha Sevanam, engaging in the service of the master of the senses and using our senses is Bhakti Rushyate. The devotional service is Sarvopadi Vinirmukta. So it doesn't matter, one has intelligence, but again, to come to the devotional service, one have to have that intelligence. Although we may not have that intelligence, we borrow that intelligence from the association of devotees, from the Guru, from the instructions of the Shastra. And we engage in the service of the master of the senses. So that is bhakti. And how that bhakti has to be performed? So we have to do in such a way that what is helpful for us to progress in devotional service and what is not useful for us, what is holding us back, we have to remove. So then we will come to Anukulyena Krishnanu Silanam. Anukulyena. So that is very, very important. It's not that, not what that Anukula for me, it's not what Anukula, what I can easily perform. It's not for my Anukula. Krishna. So it is Anukula Krishnanu Shilanam. Anushilanam. Anushilanam means following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. So we have so many tendencies we have coming from the previous lives. So in the previous verse it is said that they are all in the bija nirharanam yogaha. So they are all in the seedling stage. They are bijas. So in our heart. So other different processes like jnana yoga, karma yoga, they won't completely eradicate those bijas, the propensities, proclivities. Because jiva, when he comes to the material world, so he develops a proclivity to materially separately enjoy from the Lord. So those are all stayed in our heart as the bijas. So those bijas has to be completely removed. We have experience. Say for example, we have in the garden. So whenever we remove the weeds, everything is taken away and it is very clean and neat. But as soon as some rain comes, so whatever bijas are there, whatever little seeds, we may not see them, but they were there inside. But as soon as some favorable condition comes, favorable situation comes, again they sprout. Back in India, in villages previous days, even nowadays, what they do to remove all these weeds, they burn the field. So when the field is burned, whatever seeds are there, they also got burned. Similarly, in the devotional service, when we engage in the Shravanam Kirtanam process, the Navavida Bhakti process, and the process of devotional service, it burns all the seeds which are in the seed, dormant in our consciousness. They were burned to ashes. You can do this experiment. You put a seed. It will grow, depends on its time period. But the same seed, if you roast it and try to sow it, it won't sprout. Why? Because the propensity to grow has been removed. The propensity to grow from that seed has been removed. Similarly, when we engage in the Shravanam Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, so that Navavida Bhakti process, so that removes the seeds. We have the propensity, we have the proclivity, and the living entity is not idle. So he has to do some activity. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, even for a fraction of a second also we cannot be idle. So we have to do something. But in Bhakti, what we do? So our propensities we use to serve the Lord. So we have the best example in Bhagavad Gita. Who is that? Arjuna. So Arjuna has a natural propensity to engage in the warfare as a Kshatriya. So in the beginning he says, killing my own relatives and friends is sinful, I don't want to do. But when we heard, do it as an offering, do it as a devotional service. Yuddhasya mam anusmara. Do your activity thinking about me. Yuddhasya mam anusmara. And after hearing that, this is to please the Lord. So I have this natural propensity and Lord want me to do this, so I will engage in the yuddha for the pleasure of the Lord. So then the same Arjuna, he says, after hearing Bhagavad Gita, after understanding the instructions, he says, now my ignorance has been removed. Nasta moha smriti labdva. So my moha has gone and I have my consciousness restored. So karishye vachanam tora. O Arjuna, O Krishna, I will do this. So we also have different propensities, different proclivities to perform. So somebody like to cook, somebody like to preach, talk to people, somebody like natural music inclinations, somebody has maintenance. They like different activities. Somebody like to ride, somebody like to clean. Even the same activity, hundreds of devotees perform, but the activity which individual person does is very unique. Although so many people can make garlands, but everybody is unique in the way they make, in their meditation as well. That's very important. So that's what removes our natural, our dormant bija from our heart. So that devotion. And how do we have to do that activity? That Srila Prabhupada tells, so we have to accept, one must accept the pure devotee, the representative of the God. So the activity, yes, we have different propensities, proclivities are there, but we want to do the activity, we want to serve the Lord. How do we have to serve? We have to serve under the guidance of the spiritual master. So that is why in the nectar of devotion, the first and foremost important element is accepting Ado Guru Ashraya. So it's very, very important to accept the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, because the Guru is the one removes our ignorance. That's why we always offer our respects. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya. So he is removing our ignorance. For life after life, we are carrying the ignorance. What is that ignorance? Identification with the material body. Identification with the so many designations. So he removes them. So he gives a clear vision to us. The clear vision bereft of the modes of material nature and bereft of the bodily identification in the false ego which carrying from life after life, and he gives a clear vision to see ourselves as the spirit soul, part and parcel of the Lord, and then offer as one's Guru, and then offer him all the respects one would offer the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because the Guru, the mercy of the Supreme Lord manifests in the material world in two forms. One is Archa Vigraha and the other one is Ashraya Vigraha. So the Archa Vigraha is the personality of the Lord directly manifested. And the Ashraya Vigraha is the spiritual master, one who gives shelter at his lotus feet to push us towards the Lord. So that is why accepting the spiritual master is very, very important. And the spiritual master's work, and we see in the Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's, every morning we sing, no Sakshadaritvena Samasta Shastra, because he is very dear, he is doing a confidential work. Because in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam first canto, sages of Naimisharanya ask, so for what purpose Lord comes to take different incarnations? Sutta Goswami replies that Lord takes different incarnations to reclaim the conditioned souls who came to goodness, and he will reclaim them back to the spiritual world. That's the purpose. And Lord performs different activities to please his devotees. And spiritual master comes to elevate us from the bodily consciousness to the spiritual, to again restore our lost relationship with the Supreme Lord. And the Vedas also for the same purpose. So Vedas talk about the Sambandha, Abhidheya and Prayojana. What is our relationship? How to regain that relationship? And what is the ultimate goal of life? And spiritual master teaches the same thing. So that is why it is mentioned that, Tat Vijnanardam. So to learn that science, how to do that? Tat Vijnanardam Sa Gurum Eva Abhigachet. So we have to approach that spiritual master. Then what is the qualification of the spiritual master to approach? Nowadays we see on the internet, everyone forces themselves as a spiritual master. So they give so many instructions, whatever they like. But we have to, even to understand who is that bona fide spiritual master, Shastra gives. Shabdehe Parayasha Nishnatu. Brahmanishtam. So he is coming in the disciplic succession. He is coming in the disciplic succession, and he is firmly fixed in the Brahmanishtam. He is firmly fixed in the Brahmanishtam. Again in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 11th canto also, that gives Tat Vijnanardam Sagurum. It says, what is the verse? The 11th canto, Tasmat Gurum Prapadyeta Jignasu Shreya Uttamam. Says Tasmat, therefore, Tasmat Gurum Prapadyeta. Therefore, a person who is seriously desiring, if one at all seriously desiring, so no more casual visits to the temple. If at all one is seriously desiring, any person who is seriously desiring real happiness must seek a bona fide spiritual master and take shelter of him by initiation. The qualification of the bona fide guru is that he has realized the conclusions of the scriptures by deliberation and is able to convince others of these conclusions. Such great personalities who have taken shelter of the Supreme Godhead, leaving aside all material considerations, should be understood to be bona fide spiritual master. So, it says in the first line, therefore, any person who is seriously desire real happiness. So, any activity we perform is for the happiness, isn't it? And if at all we are really, seriously desiring a real happiness, one must seek a bona fide spiritual master and take shelter of him by initiation. And the initiation process is not like another ritual. Because in India, coming from Indian background, so I know we used to have different types of malas for 41 days, for 1 year, for 1 week vratas, like that they do different types of things. But initiation is not a such kind of ritual. Initiation process is very, very important in one's life. It's a second birth to the person. Because every living entity takes birth. It says, every life we have mother and father. Any birth you take. But only in the human form of life, one get Guru and Krishna. So that initiation is very important. And it is mentioned in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the conversation between Sanatana Goswami and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu very nicely tells, so Diksha Kale Bhakta Kare Atma Samarpan. So at the time of initiation, the devotee, he does Atma Samarpan. So it's initiation is like, say for example, say girl and boy they are in relationship. So the relationship is very casual. But when they decided, okay, we will get married, so that is official. So a girl and boy, they are doing Atma Samarpan. So now from today, I am yours. So similarly, on the initiation, so before initiation, one may be chanting 16 rounds following 4 regulative principles. So that is casual. I like you, you like me. That's going on. But when one is serious, so he commits, okay, from today, oh Lord, my goal is to achieve you. So my life is only to attain love for you, pure devotion. So that is why devotee says, so Diksha Kale Bhakta Kare Atma Samarpan. And in the next line it says, Sayi Kale. So at the same time, Krishna Mane Atma Saman. Sayi Kale Krishna Mane Atma Saman. So Krishna is considering Atma Saman. If at all you consider somebody equal to myself, Atma Saman, even if you bring a little dog in our house, now how carefully we will take care. We will feed 3 times a day, we will take to the dog wash and we do everything. And if at all we become a dog of Krishna, will Krishna doesn't take care of us? Krishna will take care. So that's why Krishna is telling, Sayi Kale Krishna Mane Atma Saman. And we have seen what Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita. He says, Ananyas Chintayanto Mam. Always engaged in the service of the Lord. And Krishna is telling, Yoga Kshema Mahamyaham. Your yoga, the connection with me, attaining me, and Kshema. Your betterment. I will take care. That's why Krishna again and again in Bhagavad Gita, everywhere is telling, Sarvadharman Parityadya Mamekam Sharanam Vacha. So that is why the process, the devotional process coming in the disciplic succession is very, very important. And the elements of bhakti, they are the only means for us. They are the only means, the Shravanam, Kirtanam. So they are very important. If at all we like something, say for example, I like this rose. At at most what I will do, I will take and smell it. Correct. But if I love the rose, if I like it, I smell. But if I love it, it is very dear to me. What I do, I will nurture it. Similarly, the elements of bhakti, yes, I like chanting, I like reading, I like doing this. But when we fall in love with the elements of bhakti, because the elements of the bhakti are the means to perceive the Lord, the means to attain the Lord. So when we love them, we take care of them. We take care of our chanting, we take care of our reading, we take care of our service, everything. So that's why in the next verses, Prahlad Maharaj, he further explains that how to accept a spiritual master, how to render devotional service. So Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is such a nice book, and this is the only friend. That's why Sanatana Goswami says, Madeka Bandho Matsangi. So my only friend. So we have to make friendship with the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. We have to make friendship with the devotees. We have to make friendship with the spiritual master. Because the spiritual master, and he is a person Bhagavata, and this is book Bhagavata. So initiation is very, very important, and the elements of bhakti is very important. I'll stop here. If you have any questions or comments or corrections, please. Hare Krishna. Look, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
I've heard many times about the idea of surrendering to Krishna in 1 minute. It sounds like a far-out idea, but could you give an example of what that would look like?
Okay. The surrendering process that begins with accepting the bona fide spiritual master. So, understanding that I don't have any other higher goals in life rather than going back to the Godhead. And the surrendering process says it's not just theoretical, but it is a practical surrender. So, in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the 6 steps in the surrendering process is Anukulya, Sankalpa, Pratikulya, Varchanam. So, first one is accepting what is beneficial for my devotional progress and rejecting what is obstructing my devotional progress. And next one is, so Krishna is my only maintainer. So he is my guardian. It's nobody else. And next one, Anukulyasya Sankalpa, Pratikulyasya Varchanam, Rakshaishyatiti Viswaso. So he is definitely protect me. So Krishna protects is not a theoretical statement. Krishna protects. It's not just a theoretical statement. It's a practical, it's a proven statement. So, but we need to understand what is actually protection means. So we need to understand what is real protection. So many times, anyway, I don't go into that process, but in the surrendering process, yes, we have to have a firm conviction that Krishna gives protection. And Atma Nikshepana Karpanya. Atma Nikshepana Karpanya. So doing everything, surrendering everything for the pleasure of the Lord. So what you are doing in your current situation is itself a surrendering process, because you left all your material occupations. Although you have ability and strength to perform them, but you committed yourself, okay, 1 year, 2 years, I want to surrender. I don't want to entangle in any other place. So being in a brahmacharya ashram, as you taken that step, that itself is a forward step towards the surrender. And keeping the elements of bhakti in a prioritized way, that makes our surrender process is very, very easy and achievable. And in the understanding that Krishna is the only protector, that comes, with the knowledge and association of the devotees. Because if at all we see, we think in a normal world, so we all think, okay, different things give me protection. That is why the protector is called Pati, one who is the guardian. So when a person marries, so generally the normal world says Bharta. So husband is called Bharta, because generally husband is supposed to be maintaining and giving protection to the family. But Krishna is the original Bharta. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Bharta Bhokta Maheshwaram. So I am the maintainer. So Krishna is the original maintainer. He is helping the subordinate maintainers. That immediately what we see. So it may be the king who is maintaining the kingdom. In our case, the politician, we may think, okay, he is doing this policy, he is doing that policy. Or our boss, okay, I am doing some work, my boss is giving money. So with that, using that money, I am maintaining. But actual maintainer is Krishna. So it doesn't matter. As I mentioned, Sayi Kale Krishna Mane Atma Saman. So when Krishna took care, Atma Saman, why he won't maintain in the surrendering process? So the step, the thought process when it comes that, I took I become a devotee, and becoming a devotee is not an identification change. So previously we were associated with other thing. Previously I was dressing like this and hairstyle was like that, or no tilak. Now I become a devotee, I put a tilak and I change my hairstyle, I put on new clothes, my identity change. It's not the identification change, it's a mentality change. The mentality previously, we put ourselves in the center, Atmendriya Priti, so now we put Krishnendriya Priti. So our surrendering process comes, we remove our Atmendriya Priti, what I like, and we put what Krishna likes. So for that, Anukulyena Sankalp, Anukulyena, whatever is beneficial and whatever is not beneficial, we will segregate them with the diligent knowledge and the guidance from different sources. And Krishna is Satampati. He is the protector of his devotees. He is the original Pati. Protector. Any other question? Pranaprabhu, anything would you like to add to that?
Question?
It's an interesting question that you ask. What's a practical application of 1 minute surrender? And one way to understand it, another way to understand it is that Srila Prabhupada consistently insisted that you can go back home, back to Godhead in one lifetime. So it wasn't that you have to come back and do other prayaschita or other methods or other processes, but simply by doing this bhakti yoga, as you said, you can become, you can finish off your business in this lifetime. He said to Jagatarini Mataji, he said to so many devotees had that experience that just give this one lifetime to Krishna and you'll go back to Godhead. So that's one thought that came to my mind about. I mean, a lifetime is more than 1 minute, but it's also it's more than it's not many lifetimes. It's not 100,000s of lifetimes. Paramanda Barmiti Koi Bhagavan Ajiv Guru Krishna Pasade Poy Bhakti Latabij. Just we've been wandering in these universes for millions of lifetimes, but just in this one lifetime, which is like it's a second. It's a blimp, in the big picture of things. It is a second. It's a minute. It's a moment in eternity. If we do bhakti, engage in the process of devotional service. And Draupadi is also one of the kind of exemplars of this of just instantaneously giving up the endeavor to engage in her own self-preservation and calling out for Krishna, for Govinda. Pratigatava Govinda Name Bhakta Pranashiti. Krishna says that his devotee will never perish, so it is samsmriti samsrita. We remember that, and by remembering that, we also become Krishna. We surrender to Krishna, and we're in that consciousness. And Krishna supplies, protect.
Thank you. So I found that conversation, that lecture transcript. Shall I read that? So Madhudvisa says, we have been here for many lifetimes performing sinful activities. So is it possible to counteract all those sinful activities one lifetime, or does it require many? Prabhupada, 1 minute, that is Krishna consciousness movement. 1 minute. You are not reading Bhagavad Gita? What Krishna says? Sarva dharman parityadya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshashyami. You surrender unto me, give up your all businesses. I will give you relief from all sinful reaction immediately. So it requires 1 minute. My dear Krishna, I was forgotten. Now I understand. I fully surrender unto you. Then you become immediately free from all sinful reactions. Without any reservation, without any politics, if you fully surrender, Krishna is assuring, Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshashyami mashucha. He reassures you. Don't worry whether I will be able to give you relief from all reaction. Mashucha, finished, guaranteed. You do this. So, how much time it requires to surrender to Krishna? Immediately you can do that. Surrender means you surrender and work as Krishna says. That is surrender. What Krishna says to do? Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Bhagavad Gita 18.65. 4 things. You always think of me and you become my devotee. You worship me and offer your respect. Full obeisances unto me. You do these 4 things, that is full surrender. Mam evaishyasi ashamshaya. Then you come to me without any doubt. Everything is there. Krishna has given everything fully. If you accept it, then life is very simple. There is no difficulty.
Thank you for your class, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
My question is, Prabhupada said that we need to take shelter of the pure devotee who's coming in the succession. And I was wondering, how can we know who is a pure devotee? Is it anyone who's coming in the succession, or how can we understand so we can take shelter of the pure devotee?
Srila Prabhupada, he started a factory of pure devotees. So all the disciples of Srila Prabhupada coming in the disciplic succession and 100% following in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada and the teachings. So they are all there. And we see who is following Srila Prabhupada's instructions and teachings, not deviating from the goal. of Srila Prabhupada. So you see, and Chaitanya Charitamrita says, so everybody should become a spiritual master. How? Eradicating Krishna Upadesh. So you will see them. And it requires intelligence also. I was hearing this lecture on this particular verse, so Prabhupada was mentioning. And how do you identify somebody is a pure devotee coming in the disciplic succession? And Prabhupada mentioned, it requires your intelligence to understand the teachings. And yes, he will take care of me. I can surrender unto his lotus feet. Whatever he says, I will follow. So that much intelligence is required. And when we hear, you will understand from them. It's not that sometimes we see when spiritual master comes, people go for we cannot say silly things, but they go, I want this, my job, my that. But Saddharma Prucha, it is very important when the spiritual master is there. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Sevya. So we have to serve that spiritual master, inquire in confidence. So that is required. So when we do that, we will understand that spiritual master. Anything would you like to add, Prabhu?
In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, there is a list, a criteria list, if you like, a checklist to say who is a pure devotee. He's one who's on the preliminary state of love of Godhead. And one thing is that a pure devotee, he's very attracted to talking about Krishna. So this is one thing. He comes and he's always talking about Krishna. Another thing is that he doesn't like to waste time. He's not idle, just messing around and doing mundane things. But the pure devotee, he's utilizing all the time he's got in service to Krishna. 2 things. I think there's eight things, is it? Eight things in the list. He's very attracted to live in the holy dhams. He wants to go and be part of, associate with the holy dham. And what's another one? I have my list. Deity worship? I'm not sure. No. Anyway, it's a very important list. Yes. He's anxious. Yeah, very anxious to please Krishna. It's worth looking up that list. It's a good question. I have that list. I used to refer to it all the time, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And Prabhupada referred to it in the 2nd canto of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. It's in a purport in, the 3rd chapter of the 2nd canto. Prabhupada refers to that list, that checklist. Oh, we have the list here, and we've got it in a checklist form. Is it? Wow. Utilization of time. Tick. Perseverance. Detachment. Pridelessness. Great hope. That's Ashabandha. Great hope. Eagerness for achieving the desired success. Wow. Attachment to chanting the holy names of the Lord. Eagerness to describe the Lord's transcendental qualities. And attraction for living in a place where Krishna has his pastimes. That's NOD chapter 18. Characteristics of one in ecstatic love. That's a nice checklist for. Yeah. Where did you get that from? Where did you get the list? Database. Like that? No. Or did you make it?
No, database like this.
Online?
No.
exercise. That becomes a checklist.
Yeah, because you can select and you can search.
It's in, I was searching also. It's in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter number 23. 18 and 19 was quoted from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the nice class, Prabhu. Prabhu, you mentioned how when one is doing devotional service, all the past sinful actions, the past sinful seeds are destroyed. But Prabhu, I still see like pure devotees who've been practicing devotional service for so long, they're still suffering. So when the sinful past seeds are like destroyed, then why are they suffering?
Suffering for them or suffering for us to see? Both are different. So we may externally see they are suffering, but internally how they are, we don't know, their consciousness. And for us, as far as for us is concerned, we just unplug the fan. So starting a devotional service is, fan is running at a very high speed. You just unplug, and it takes some time to slow down and stop. But it takes time. But meanwhile, fan is running. And in a technical way to understand is that we have prarabdha karma and aprarabdha karma. So the body itself is a prarabdha karma which is already sprouted. And according to the package system, it will give you in a duration of time the package of happiness and distress. We need not to wait also. But whatever is aprarabdha karma is there, which is not sprouted yet, so that will get destroyed with the action of bhakti. And when we see advanced devotees going through suffering, so it may not be suffering for them. And we have in a recent days witnessed His Holiness Kadamakanand Maharaj. Such a great example Maharaj set for us. And he never expressed that suffering also. You can hear in his last lectures also, in his last, how Maharaj was dealing. And I have seen in my mother's case, so in the last moments of cancer, they were giving very high doses of morphine just to control the pain. And Maharaj was completely rejected doctor and the medicine. He never took. So I was wondering how much pain he must be going through, but he never showed that pain in his face, in his conversation. Because they are completely beyond the bodily consciousness. As long as we identify with the body, material body, that is meant to give pain. Any attachment in the material world is meant to give pain, other than Krishna. It's like a bandage. You put a bandage, you try to remove that bandage. There are so many things attached to that bandage, small hair follicles, and they give pain. So similarly, anything small things we attached, so those give pain. But these devotees, they are completely detached from the bodily consciousness and they are completely taken shelter of the Lord. So, body anyway, gone. But they don't see. That's what we have to develop also.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. I would like to stop here. Grandhara Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhuvya cha patitana bhavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo